Hey there, I'm Brandon, and this is the Dirt Church Devotional. I want to talk to you a little bit about faith, all right? I was reading in Hebrews 11 the other day, which is the great faith chapter. It lists all these people who had amazing faith, Abel and Enoch and Abraham and David and Rahab, and all these people had amazing faith and did amazing things. But I ran across Sarah's name. And that shouldn't be very surprising, but it says, and in fact, this is interesting, I was just looking, in every translation that I can find, except the NIV, it commends Sarah. And it says, by faith, Sarah, even though she was beyond childbearing years, was enabled to become pregnant and have a son because she believed God. And I read that and I thought, well, that's interesting. I mean, I knew that she had a son with Abraham, but I thought I was thinking her response was a little bit different than what the writer of Hebrews says. And so I flipped back to Genesis chapter 18. And in Genesis chapter 18, God shows up, he and two angels, they're in the appearance of men, and they show up at Abraham's tent. And they're acting like they're going to walk on by, and Abraham stops them and says, hey, let me wash your feet, let me get you some food. And so he goes and has Sarah prepare some food and brings it out, and they eat it. And the Lord asks him, hey, where's your wife? And he says, oh, she's in the tent. And now, unbeknownst to Abraham, she was just in the tent listening to everything that's going on. And the Lord says to Abraham, now get this, he says, all right, well, about this time next year, I'll come back, and Sarah will be holding a baby in her arms. She's going to have a son. To which Sarah laughs. She didn't jump up and say, oh, awesome, I've got great faith, this is fantastic, I'm going to be a mom, because she was pretty near 90 years old at the time. And the Lord noticed that Sarah laughed, and he says, why'd Sarah laugh? Why'd you laugh? And Sarah said, oh, no, I didn't laugh. And she said, yeah, you did. You laughed. But anyway, next year you're going to have a son, and oh, by the way, you're going to name him Isaac, which means laughter. So think about this. Every time she was yelling at Isaac, he was getting in trouble. She's calling his name. She's remembering, I laughed at God. Well, anyway, you read the Genesis account, and it doesn't sound like an awful lot of faith. But you read the Hebrews account, and it says Sarah had faith. So here's a couple of things. Number one, and this ought to be an encouragement, you need to understand God reckons faith different than you and I do. Why is that important to understand? Because we can get so afraid, we can get so convoluted, we can get so messed up when we make mistakes or we have doubts or we question, is God really going to do this? And Satan will jump on that, and he will run with it and have a heyday and convince us that we just don't have enough faith to do anything, let alone be saved. Well, God reckons faith differently. Sarah had faith. She ended up having that baby. Here's the other thing. Here's the second thing I want you to remember, second takeaway. Your faith, or lack thereof, will directly affect others beyond yourself. Think about this. God had made a promise to Abraham that he would have a son, that he would be the father of nations. And Abraham believed him. Abraham left home at 75. Abraham walked through the promised land because God had promised he would give it to him. Abraham did all these things that God told him, but he said, you're going to have a son, and you're going to be the father of many nations. But he couldn't do it by himself. He needed Sarah. And Sarah's faith, coupled with Abraham's faith, and faith is a verb, it's an action. Sarah had to act on that faith, and she had to do those things that would lead to pregnancy. Even though at 90 years old, 89 years old, she probably wasn't all that interested in it. And you know what? It had never worked before. They had tried for years and years and years. But now that she had faith and she exercised that faith and she stepped out in faith, not only was she enabled to become a mother, Abraham was enabled to become a father. They were blessed, and because of their blessing, the world was blessed. So, let me finish with this. The next time you feel challenged that your faith isn't big enough, step up. Step up in faith and know this. Your faith is going to affect somebody else. Your faith just might be the catalyst that it takes to bless somebody else and see their faith, their promise realized. Hey, we're all in this together, right? All right, chew on that. Lord bless you. Have a good night.